How to go from 0 to 6 rental properties in 1 year. I know you're watching this right now saying that can't possibly happen. Well, I've got proof in the pudding today. I've got a husband and wife team, Philadelphia pride in the house. Jason and Diana are from Philadelphia originally, now living in Florida, but they did exactly that in 1 year. Went from 0 rental properties to 6, and they paid off debt in the entire process, and now they're ready to get more properties. And they join me today from Florida. Good to see you both.
Good to see you,
Hi,
Clayton.
Clayton. Good to see you.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here on the show. So give our viewers a little background. What lit the spark for you? And like we are right now in the spring, so May of 2020, essentially. You guys now have 6 rental properties. So if I were talking to you last year, you had just started on this journey.
We did.
That's right. Yeah, we ended up purchasing the first property in February 2019. So it's only been, a little over a year. But we started thinking about it, probably 2 or 3 years before that was really sort of that self-education part, just really learning a lot before we sort of pulled the trigger on that first property. But once we purchased that first one, then, it kind of snowballed from there. And we ended up with 6 in 1 year, which has been crazy.
Yeah, we wanted to take action, and I was so scared. It was really Jason who pulled the trigger on it. And we started seeing the checks coming in, we were like, wait a minute, why? Let's do more. So then we bought another one, and then we got really bold and we bought 4 more. And they pretty much all worked out. A couple of rookie mistakes, but first
Yeah.
time, that's the name of the game.
A couple of rookie mistakes. Diana, I want to pick up on something you said, which was you were scared at first. So what was scary?
Oh
Was
yeah.
this something you were ever taught growing up about, real estate investing, or were you taught just
I
like me,
mean,
work for somebody else, put money in a retirement account, and so we're trained, conditioned to think that this can't possibly work, right?
well, it's funny because my dad is in real estate, and that's kind of what got me curious. But his message was, don't do what I did. Go to school, get a job. Don't go this route. This is too hard. Because he doesn't know what it's like to have a 9 to 5 job. So we were fed that. Um,
And same thing. Both my parents worked for the government. It was go to school, get a job,
and it wasn't
401ks,
working.
mutual funds, and we just didn't see. I mean, I don't know that we just weren't satisfied with that. Our retirement goals were, we just didn't see ourselves getting to where we wanted to be with that plan. So luckily, Deanna, learned a lot from her dad and just seeing his business. And then
And
I
reading
think
books and
think
getting
yeah, just getting
educated.
educated. Really, we got to thank Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad.
And
That
your
was
book.
that was the book that kicked it all off, and just really learning a lot about
But this
buying assets.
But the scared part, one thing that we learned is that you can only get so educated, and at some point you have to take action. And I was not going to do that. He needed to just say, look, listen, we've learned everything we need to learn up until this point. We got to start doing something and then learn more through the mistakes and stuff like that.
So Jason, what was it like for you to get Deanna on board with this? Did you have to because we hear this from couples all the time that one person is the catalyst, the other is kind of, and it varies. It could be the husband, it could be the wife.
Yeah.
It's gender neutral in this situation. There's not one over the other. What did you have to say to her? Was there some piece that flipped that switch?
I guess we played the 401k money.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I think it kind of went back and forth. It was initially her idea. She came up with the idea of buying rental properties and getting passive income, and then once she convinced me to sort of think about it, I was trapped in the corporate mindset. I was just, working my way up the ladder, 9 to 5. I was working, 50, 60-hour weeks. So I really didn't even have time to think about some other career route path. But once I got that idea, she kind of pushed the idea on me. And then once I started educating myself, then I started, cranking out the numbers. I
Yeah, it
became
made
the
sense.
analysis guy. So I was running numbers on properties, running ROI calculations, and then it kind of switched where she was thinking high level, and and then a year later, I'm thinking, let's buy a property.
And I'm like, stop,
Like,
stop it.
so I think it moved a little too fast. So it was really, I think I just, tried to convince her to buy that first one, just really I created spreadsheets, showed her the numbers, how we can get the ROI, how we can get property managers, trying to build a comfort level of we didn't have to do everything on our own. We could work with a team and have those pieces in place.
That's great. So talk about, you mentioned before the show, and I'm flattered, Deanna, you mentioned that you'd read my book, our book, Natalie and I, our
Yeah.
book, How to Pay Off Your Mortgage in
Yes.
5 years. And what were you told by the banks when you approached them about this strategy to pay off your mortgage and using a HELOC strategy? What did they tell you?
It was kind of funny. They were like, you can't do that. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but whatever you learned was wrong.
I think you had to talk to like 4 or 5 people at the bank
yeah.
until we got somebody who would set up we had a HELOC and we wanted to set up a HELOC as a checking account, do all of our bills, like when I got paid from my W-2 job, it would go right into the HELOC. And then if we spent money in our checking account, there would be overdraft protection. So
that was the trick.
the checking account wouldn't have any money in it. Whenever we spent money, it would just pull from the HELOC. So we didn't just have like $10,000 sitting in a checking account just in case. The HELOC was working for us all the time.
Yeah, and we were shocked. How about
At
it?
how fast the
I
HELOC
mean,
just started
it
dropping.
wasn't even 5 years. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was about 5 years,
It was
right
about
around,
5
and
years.
we're almost paid off. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. So you are a true testimonial then for our book, How to Pay Off
Yes.
Your Mortgage in Less Than 5 Years. So,
You got it.
all the naysayers out there that say you can't do it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just that if you listen to what the banks say, you'll stop. But if you just keep going, if there's a will, there's a way, they say. It was kind of like that.
Right. That's amazing. So, Jason, talk a little bit about the process then, using now that you've got this leverage, the primary house that you live in, you've got this leverage, you've been able to pay down this debt. How creatively did you start investing in real estate? How did you start to turn that equity?
I mean, one of the other major steps we did was we were able to take money from IRAs and 401ks. That was another thing that we were, sort of heavily invested in. That's the script that we're all fed. Just put all that money into IRAs and 401ks. So we learned a lot and learned that strategy, at least for us, wasn't really going to work, and we knew we could do better things with that money. So we ended up taking some of that money out, most of it out, and we did end up having to pay some taxes, some penalties, and we do not regret it at all.
Mm-mm.
So we were able to use some of that money, plus using the HELOC. We had a lot of equity in the house because we paid it down. Then we had money in the home equity line of credit that we could start to put down to purchase rental properties. It ended up being a good chunk of change. So, we actually paid the first, actually all 6 properties we bought in full. We paid cash, and it all came from the HELOC. And so now we're just owning those properties outright and paying down the HELOC.
Oh, that's great. I love that. So you're using your leverage in the house that you have. You're using the equity in the home that you have to move this money around. And now you've turned that money, that equity that was in the property, that IRA that was sitting there, the 401k that was sitting there not producing much for you. Now you've turned that into cash flow. So what does your monthly cash flow look like right now from these 6 properties?
I think it's probably around, I would say, it's in the 200. We're probably cash flowing about 200 per property, so we're looking at 1,200 a month in total. It's probably that's probably our average right now. Like I said, we ran into a couple of rookie mistakes. Some of the properties had some work that needed to be done, so there were repairs that needed to be done on a few properties. We had a little bit of turnover, but every property we bought had a tenant existing and was already cash flowing. So it's been probably about between 1,000 and 1,200 a month. We're cash flowing.
And you haven't worked with us yet on a property. at Morris Invest. So hopefully you'll come over to our camp and we'll
Yeah.
get you one of our new construction properties with the tenants, so you won't have to worry about any of those repairs.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Deanna, you mentioned in our world, in our certainly Morris Invest world, you've also taken action on the tax front. So you work with our good friend Tom Wheelwright, his team at WealthAbility.
That was huge.
We have a
Yeah.
link on our website. If you go to morrisinvest.com/lower taxes, you can book a call with them and they'll take great care of you. So Tom set up a program for our Morris Invest clients and friends and families to kind of go through their process. Talk about the lowering the taxes piece. Most people just talk about the houses and the cash flow, but I get really excited about the taxes.
Yes, exactly. And that's something neither of us knew much about taxes at all, other than, just, as a W-2 employee, you take your standard deductions every year and it's very simple. But we read Tom Wheelwright's book, Tax-Free Wealth, and we joined WealthAbility, which is his company. So there's all sorts of videos and education. We get monthly calls with our CPA, and that's just been such an eye opener with all the different tax benefits that you can get, by owning real
Yeah.
estate with depreciation, and
It's just a whole nother education piece that like we did not know. I mean, we kind of hired them to do our taxes, but then it's like we feel like we're getting this education out of it. Really, that's how we view it,
yeah,
Well, I
we're
think
like a
that's the most
class.
important piece. Oh, I had some feedback there. You bring up a great point. That's what Tom's whole thing is, that the doing the taxes, the filing the taxes is the easy part. And I had never
Right.
heard of tax planning, which is you
right.
spend the rest of the year making sure that you guys aren't paying a boatload in taxes and getting creative with your real estate investing, how to leverage your jobs in a way that's, mitigating your income. That's the planning part. That's where WealthAbility is so strong and why we love working with them. The filing of the taxes is like the paperwork at the end of the rainbow,
Yeah.
right? Now that you've done all the work.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we just had a call the other day. It was our, it's April now and we're planning for 2020. We're really, already trying to figure out what we're going to be doing come next April when it's time to file. So, that's a part that we never thought about taxes
Right.
Ever.
until,
Yeah.
March of that tax year. Now
That's all we talk
we're
about.
talking about it in March of the previous year to what we're going to do this year. So it's a whole new world with planning, to make sure that I'm still in a W-2 job, so I have my income coming in, and I want to offset that with, purchasing rental properties. So it's really just trying to get to a point where, our tax burden is as
Yeah.
little as
And
possible.
we also learned that you can pay your kids if they're, of the right age. So we have a
Right.
daughter, she's 8 years old, and our accountant told us, we can pay her for the work that she does, which has been great.
Well, that's a game changer for people that don't know. We've done a number of videos on that exact strategy here on the channel, so I hope people will go and check that out, how to incorporate
Oh,
your
they're
family.
great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, Natalie and I are passionate about that piece of this, which is, you can pay your children. I mean, our children have paid their school tuition out of their own bank account, tax free.
Right.
It lowers your taxable income. So from your W-2 job, now the amount of money you're going to pay in taxes is lowered because you're paying your daughter as an employee of your company. And it's totally
Right.
legal, and the IRS totally
Yeah.
promotes it and allows it. You just have to follow and talk to
Mm-hmm.
your proper CPA about it all. I wanted to ask you this question
And she's
about.
learning. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Good.
Oh, and our daughter's learning a lot too. I mean,
Yeah.
she's really working for the company, and she's always asking about what the business is. It gets our kids curious. They're in school, but they're also learning a lot about real estate and taxes. They always joke that mom and dad are always talking about real estate, taxes, insurance. So they are curious, and they're learning a whole nother part of the world. That they're getting a whole second education.
Yeah. A real
A
education.
real
Right,
education.
right.
Yeah, I think they're
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
getting
yeah.
the proper one. We sit around the dinner table and talk
Yeah.
about passive income. This is not something that they're going to learn in school. So great. You've
Yeah.
now altered the trajectory of her life. I mean, in a way that
Yeah.
I didn't have growing up. I don't know, maybe you guys did. I certainly didn't. So being able to have this at this young of an age is incredibly impactful. If she starts her own business, doesn't waste money on a ridiculous degree that she's never going to use. So I'm sure,
Right.
those are conversations for another
Right.
day.
I know.
I wanted
Yeah,
to ask
yeah.
you though about the W-2 piece of this. So let's talk some numbers here. So, day job, you guys?
He
Yes,
does.
I
Yeah.
have I have a day job. Yep, I work so I work for a pharmaceutical company, and that's another thing I wanted to mention was the financial freedom cheat sheet that you offer was really helpful because we said we want to start investing in rental properties, but we needed to have a goal. Do we want five? Do we want 100? Like it was really that cheat sheet really helped because the goal for us is the financial freedom that I could eventually leave my W-2 job and be full-time real estate investor. So we need to figure out how much we need to bring in each month to replace my income and be comfortable with that. So, we use that cheat sheet. I think we're around maybe 12 to 15 properties that I could, potentially be comfortable enough in leaving a W-2 job. So we do have a goal, and that really helps us just look, for each year to plan for each year how many properties we're going to buy this year, and just scale it up until I don't have to have that 9 to 5 anymore.
That's great. And you're halfway there. So if you need that
It's
12 properties, you're at 6 already. How amazing does that feel?
it's just unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't even imagine it, a year or two ago, that I could be a few years away from leaving that 9 to 5 grind, kind of getting out of the rat race and just having that time back. Because obviously it's a lot of work. Real estate investment and managing the properties. It is work. It's not just because it's passive income. It's not truly passive, but you get your time back. You can make your own schedule. You're not answering to a boss, and you don't have to be like I work from home for my job now, but I'm locked in a room for 8 9 hours a day because I have to be there, and it's a different kind of different type of work, and you just have a lot more control and flexibility
Yeah.
when you have that freedom.
That's amazing. And I should mention that if anyone wants that free cheat sheet, it's just our freedom number cheat sheet. We'll have a link in the description. People can grab it, or they can just go, if you're driving right now and listening, just go to morrisinvest.com/freedom. It's like 3 pages, and it helps you figure out your expenses from a month-to-month basis in your family on average, and then reverse engineering how many rental properties via cash flow it would take for you to live financially free and live the life that you want. So what's next for you guys? What type of life will it look like for you over the next 5 years? What do you want to do?
It's interesting you mentioned the expenses part, which we didn't talk about, but that's another component of, a mindset shift. Once we saw this financial freedom number, this, amount that could help us, achieve this financial freedom, then we started thinking about our expenses too. That's a big component. So we've been, minimizing our lifestyle a lot, trying to, knock off bills that we don't need and just, kind of live a more minimalist lifestyle. We've
Yeah.
been reading a lot of stuff about that too. So that is going to help us just meet our number that much faster. So we're looking into buy a new house at some point, but we're not going to be upgrading. We're going
Yeah.
to be getting something that's maybe a little smaller. That just we're down to 1 car now. I got rid of my car. Like we didn't really need 2 cars anymore. So so you have this mindset shift where you're also just minimizing your expenses, and it just gets you there even faster.
We went through that experience, a couple of years ago, and it's a cathartic experience. Deanna, talk about that a little bit because, when you move, you get rid of the what you think is the larger house. You don't need it. You downsize, or you just start to live more minimally. And Natalie and I really had a heart to heart about it because like I don't need a closet full of stuff, and I got down to like 3 shirts or 4 shirts. I'm like, I don't need
Yeah.
all of these things. There's ones with tags on them still that I'm not even wearing. I
It's
haven't even touched
ridiculous.
yet. Right.
Yeah. I was fine with it. I mean, I was kind of the one because I have the time. I was going through everything. Do we really need this? Do we really need that? I mean, it's amazing what what you need and what you don't need. And it's been very freeing because now on weekends, because we don't have all this stuff, we can actually go out, go for walks, go for a hike. I mean, that's what we enjoy doing. So we kind of had to check in with each other and say, well, what do we want? Do we really need all this?
Yeah, it gives you time back. If you don't have all this stuff and you don't have these projects, before, a couple years ago, we just kept thinking about
What's our
what
next
can we add to our
house
house? What's the next
project?
project? And now we're like, well, we're not really into it. And some
We're
people
not into
are.
it.
That's
Yeah.
great, but now we have our weekends free, and it's just been amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
We
great.
sold everything.
Well, I love that you guys have taken action. You have now 6 rental properties. If someone's watching right now thinking about getting started with real estate investing, making a change in their life, what would your message be to our audience to take that first step?
It's really the first thing is just changing your mindset. It's getting educated. I mean, start with Rich Dad Poor Dads. Join Clayton's podcast and watch all the just consume as much information as you can, because if you're anything like me, you just weren't taught any of this in school. It's all brand new, but once you dive into it and see the potential and how quickly you can get to financial freedom, how quickly you can change your life, that just getting that education
Yeah.
will help you actually take action
But then you
that
have
much
to take
quicker. You have to
action.
take the hardest part is
That's
the hardest part is taking action. No matter how much you get educated, I mean,
yeah.
we probably, it took us about 2 to 3 years before we actually purchased the first property. I kind of got in analysis paralysis a little bit, looking at so many different properties, making sure it was the right one, but all that stuff, it doesn't matter. You really just,
Yeah.
eventually we just had to buy the first property, get the experience, and realize it's not so bad,
And we figured we can't touch our 401k money anyway, really. So we're like, why not just play and buy a rental property with it? And that's kind of how he got me on board to buy the first one, because I was like, well, we can't touch it anyway, so let's do it. And then once we saw the cash flow coming in, we were like, we are wasting our time leaving this money in here. Then the tax benefits, forget it.
Well, and you bring up a great point too, and we're right now still in the middle of this pandemic under the CARES Act, and because the president signed the CARES Act into law at the end of March, we've been working with clients right now in our office who are now working with us for the first time because they're now able to take out $100,000 of their 401k, which before was a $50,000 cap, and now you don't get a penalty.
Yeah.
On top of that. So
We just did that yesterday. We just pulled everything out.
We just did that the other day, yeah, because I still had some in there and I wasn't able to touch it because I'm still working at the company. But we do have some, since we have tenants and they're struggling with rent. We do qualify to take the money out under the CARES Act because we are being impacted, through our existing tenants. So we just took advantage of that as well.
But it's funny, every article we read was like, don't do this. Don't do this.
Don't take your
And
money.
we emailed our accountant at WealthAbility and they were like, oh yeah, you got to do that. Do it now.
Do it. Right, because a lot of those articles are written by big banks. If you realize they're sponsored posts by, Chase Bank and these other things. And if you read those websites, it's teaching an entirely different mentality than what we try to teach you here and what WealthAbility would teach you as well. Yeah, I mean, you get 100,000 out. That's like 2 down payments for like 2 rental properties,
Right.
And then having bank financing for the rest, and you've now turned that 100,000 that was sitting in a 401k with this volatile stock market, you've turned that into passive income without a penalty right now under the federal government's CARES Act. So it's a killer strategy.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, once in a lifetime. So yeah, take advantage of it while it's out there. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Create infinite returns. Well, guys, it's been a real treat getting to meet you guys and hearing about your journey. I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired too, and flattered that you read our book and took action on it. And so many people will, read a book, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, read our book or other books, and then not do anything about it. And you guys are proof that within a short amount of time, you're halfway there already. 6 rental properties is amazing. So congrats to you guys. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for all the content you put out there. We really couldn't have done it without, Mars Invest and all the, just the amazing content that you have available for anybody to just kind of dive in and see what other options are out there.
Well, thank
Because
you
we're
so much.
just, yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. And stay safe down there in Florida. And thanks for representing Philadelphia with Philadelphia tough attitude and stick-to-itiveness. That's the Philadelphia
That's
pride.
right. That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. We should play the Rocky soundtrack in the background right now.
Yeah, we got it.
Absolutely.
That's right. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been a real treat getting to know you, and hopefully we'll catch up soon and be able to help you continue on your journey.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Clayton.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to all of you for downloading and subscribing. We really appreciate it. I hope that you are inspired by Deanna and Jason's journey today and how, you know, they weren't on the same page necessarily at the beginning, but they were able to educate themselves, go back and forth, have a great husband and wife discussion about the future of their family, teaching their daughter how to build passive income and build a business. This is exactly why I get out of bed every morning, is to be able to do this. So I am super thrilled and excited that I got to meet them, and I'm inspired. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.